See ya. See you, Jamin.
You just need a
There he is.
Hey, do you want a poster?
Oh, absolutely, I would. What would be the best? Well, those are like nicely made.
Oh
Too.
yeah.
Nice. I'm gonna put some tack on that too. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Who's the girl in the bottom?
That is Victoria's little sister, and she's little Cosette.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's a cute little girl.
Yeah.
Is she? How old is she?
She's in 5th grade, so I'm not sure how old that is, but
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
That's like perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And everyone looks so serious up there. I love it.
Yeah.
I was listening. A lot of people. Maybe I've told you this. I love Broadway. Like I love like musicals and Broadway.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm in my car, that's what I'll jam to.
Yeah.
I'll just like go and I was listening to Dear Evan.
Oh my goodness, such great album. Which
It's
song?
so good.
Which one?
To be honest, I don't even know.
Every single one was good.
I have so my jam on that on there that I only know. Something about waving through a window.
Wait for this to song. Yep.
Love that song. Love that. But it was a different one I was listening to last night,
It's a very, very good album.
and I was like, man,
Hey, Dear
hold up, where would it be better?
Oh yeah.
Right here?
I went and watched Dear Music on Broadway.
Was it
You
good?
saw the real version?
Yeah.
Oh, those are
I saw
expensive
like
tickets.
I saw like Ben Platt
But yeah.
in New York.
Are they really expensive?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We were like stranded in New York because our flight was canceled. So
Like, hey, what the heck?
my dad was just like, all right, let's just do it.
That's right.
I
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Like, I love Broadway stuff.
Yeah, I submitted
I
it.
love Broadway stuff.
I just didn't care.
Just going to New
Maybe
York
this
and
will
go
be
to
a
the
hundred,
theater.
and if he finds out when the one is wrong, he's like, oh, the Quizlet.
Coach, yeah,
And
we
the
gotta
one was
just
the
look at our
Quizlet.
test.
He said it was a
We
different
will,
Quizlet.
yes. I
I
got
just
it on
changed
the
what
right.
he said.
We're gonna start with this and then end with that.
Oh.
In the gateway.
I have a question for you.
Yeah. so
Wait, one of the
if
ones.
you want to
that
get it
was
right now
wrong.
and just check it out.
I don't know if it was wrong.
Um,
he had a different answer.
But we'll get to it in a bit. What's up, Jacqueline?
Hello. That doesn't seem like right.
Alrighty. Did I get y'all notes yet? Did I not? Right there.
Back here.
Yes. If you could get the notes that are in the back really quick, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Get started there. Did Atlanta United end up winning?
Yeah.
They did.
No words.
I'm really worried.
I'm so upset, Coach Shay. We'll talk later.
We will.
We'll have our discussion.
We'll have our discussion.
Yes.
You know.
In hot water.
Whatever. Everybody.
Now in hot water.
Yes.
Yeah, creatures.
All right. Hey, let me do this as we get started. Let me pray for us, and then we'll hop right into it. Okay? Cool. I don't do this enough, especially with stats, because we're going so quick. Does anyone have prayer requests that we could pray for heading into the weekend? Catherine's back. We're pumped that she's back with us. Good. Yes. Anything that we could pray for? Late minutes, I know. coming down? We're good? Okay. Hey, let's do this. Let's pray it up and let's go. Let's go. God, we say thank you for today. Lord, we think of the many people that are involved in Les Mis coming up. We just ask for a special blessing over that. Lord, I know that there are a lot of work that went into that and is going into it. And so I just ask that it would go well. Be with these seniors. Lord, you know my heart. I was thinking about them this morning. Just thinking about just all the things that are coming up on the horizon for them. I'm excited. I just ask that, Lord, you'd help guide and direct them through the college decisions and then also just the excitement of finishing off and then going out, going on to that next phase of life. Just be with them. In your name we pray. Amen. Hey, check this out. This is the clip we're going to start the lesson off with. The whole thing of this, I guess the goal of it, is we're going to see if we can actually prove the Mythbusters wrong. So we're going to actually go into it and see if this is actually something that they said was true or whether we can actually prove that something they said was maybe false. So check this out real quick. It's about 4 minutes, so check it out.
We need to start this over. We put way too much work into this not to get really definitive results. We have to come up with a new plan.
I think what we need to do is we'll do it again, keep it consistent, and instead of bringing the people to us, we'll take it to the people.
6:30 a.m. at a local flea market, where the Mythbusters hope to get a bigger sample of test cases. They've modified a truck. Inside, it's a multi-chambered yawning observation lab.
Well, the Mythbusters are here to perform a psychological experiment. We needed a crowded sort of outdoor atmosphere to be able to get our subjects from. And we plan to run through about 30 or 40 today in our custom-built Mythbusters psychological chamber. And we need to see if we can get anyone to yawn by influencing them.
Adam and Jamie set off to chum the waters of the market and net some unsuspecting fans.
There we go. What do you think?
Before long, there's a feeding frenzy around the Mythbusters stall.
Sure. Okay. Sure, why not? All right, Alan, so you'll just go back to Tori over there.
This time, they are testing one variable only, the seated yawn.
Sorry, moving up some support. Back to your room.
Oh, come on in, follow me. Sit in the little room quietly, and I'll come get you briefly.
There's 3 yawn cubicles, each fitted with a hidden camera, and one observation chamber, where Tori is on watch. Carrie will yawn at 2 of every 3 subjects as she ushers them into their cubicle.
So we're going to see if they yawn faster with some influence than without any. The third person will be a control, which Carrie will give no influence to, and we'll see if there's actually a difference.
So the experiment begins, and Tori gets down to some careful observation of the subjects doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's starting to seem like the Mythbusters are just way too much fun to evoke even the slightest yawn. Then, a breakthrough. And after the drought, a flood of yawning is unleashed. The Mythbusters suddenly have the Midas touch. Even the local dogs get caught up in the current of yawns that's sweeping the market. The experiment also suggests that some guinea pigs are more observant than others. And finally proving that all good things must come to an end, 5 hours and 50 test cases later, the Yawnathon draws to a close.
That was it. That's the last one. We're done.
For Carrie, it's not a moment too soon.
I was yawning all day, to the point where my cheeks were hurting and my eyes were watering.
All right, well, after testing 50 people in the field, our largest sample we've ever used on Mythbusters, the results are in. And when the people we tested got no seed yawn, no stimulus, they yawned 25% of the time. When they got stimulus, they yawned 29% of the time.
Well, it's not dramatic, but it seems like it's pretty good to me. What do you guys think? Busted, plausible, or confirmed?
Given how large our sample was, I'd say it's confirmed.
There's little doubt it does seem to be contagious.
And I bet the audience at home right now is probably yawning.
Alright, I'm just curious. You are now in the world of statistics. If you watched this 5-6 months earlier, you probably wouldn't have thought much of what just happened, right? Give me some problems that went down with Mythbusters. That I can't even say it. They used that was kind of problematic there. John Michael?
They were talking about how large their sample size was, but it wasn't very large at all.
Yeah, I like that. That was probably one of the funniest things I heard. Sarah, do you have anything else?
It wasn't really random. It was kind of just like whoever came up there, like, oh, she said this.
Yeah, what really wasn't random, was it? It was just kind of like, hey, if you like our show, come on. Hey, we'll have you be a sample. Are you still making fun of me?
We were trying to
I still can't say it.
Mythbusters.
Mythbusters. There you go. There we go. Anything else problematic about this thing?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Since it was like a blocked study, do they have to have the appropriate sample size for each of the blocks they set up, or just like the entire sample?
That's a good question. That's not required. Think if we divided up in a block right now between boys and girls, we could still perform the study, even though there's not equal boys and equal girls that are in each group. That's a really, really good question. It would be ideal to be able to do that, but in this situation, it's not required to go ahead and move forward with it. It's good. Can we show cause and effect in this, Alex?
No,
Why?
because it wasn't a random sample, so you can't show.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. What if it was random? Could we show cause and effect? Say that again, Sarah.
If it was like an experimental setup.
Yeah, it wasn't an experimental setup.
It was.
I think it was, right? Kind of, sort of. Some of you could say, was it poorly done? I would say yes. But this is the outline. If you were on the top there, what did we start with here? How many people? I want a prettier one. How many people did we start with? 50. Good. What happened with that 50 when we talked about our outline? We didn't really do this, but what should we have done? Oh, to make it cause and effect. That's a really good one. Good question. Random sample, except when we talk about an experiment, we say random. Anybody?
Assignment.
Assignment. Very good. Random assignment. And who said that? Was that Alex here? And then John Michael, you were right on the random part. So we're going to do random assignment. Okay? I'm in that type of mood. You know what I mean? Just in that type of mood. All right? There you go. We go two ways. The random assignment had 1/3 of them go one way, and then 2/3 of them go the other way. So when we looked at this, we have group 1 and group 2. Okay? Group 1 was, I think, 34. Group 2 was 16. Okay? Because in total, they had 50. They said something like 2/3 got the seated yawn, 1/3 did not. Okay? Now, when you give the treatment, what treatment are we giving group 1? Yeah, that's good. And it's called in this case, just the yawn seed, right? Which is the stimulus. I'm okay with that too. Good, Brown. And then what is the group 2?
No yawn.
No yawn. Yeah, good. And then at the end, what do we do?
Compare.
Yeah, compare. Is that Chloe?
Yes.
Good stuff. Okay, questions on that? Now, can anyone tell me what the difference between what we're talking about right now and what we did in chapter 9 so far?
This is an experiment, not a survey.
Ooh, this is an experiment. Jane, do you have anything else?
Oh, I was just gonna say that our we didn't do that like the diagram from chapter 9.
Good, yeah, and this came from earlier where we moved into experimental world. You're exactly right. I like that. Shane, you got something?
Let's do 2 samples instead of just 1 sample.
That's it. And that's the big deal that we're focused on. We're going to move into comparing two samples compared to just one. Okay? All right, compared to just one. Now, the good news. All right, let me talk about bad news maybe. Maybe that's good first, okay? It's a little more complicated than chapter 9. The good news, it's the same thing as chapter 9, okay? So, yeah, it's kind of the same type of thing. We're just going to a little bit more, maybe a little bit more complicated than before. Okay, so with that being said, we did the outline. This was their diagram, so to speak, like the table of 50 people, the sample size of 50 people. I was with Shane. I thought they said 50, and I don't know, me and him were like, seriously, like 50? That's the biggest on the show ever? You may want to do a little bit more than that. But when you looked at this, you noticed that the yawn seed came. Did the subject yawn? Yes or no? Okay? All right, let's move to the next one here. Here's what we got. P hat 1. Okay? What is P hat again? Statistic. I love that, and it's the sample proportion. I like both of those answers.
Good job.
For the first one, right? For the first one, the true proportion of people given the yawn seed will yawn. P hat 1 was what, right? So P1 is the true P, but we used a P hat 1 to be able to estimate P1. Does anyone know what the percentage was? And you could find it on the table on the previous slide. Say that again. 29%. Good. So 0.29 was P hat 1. Very good. P2 is now we're talking now group 2. Okay, the second group that's here. We say the P2 is the true proportion of people who did not get the yawn seed still yawn. Okay, maybe it's just boring or whatever. What was the P hat 2? 4 out of 16, which is 0.25. How many of you think, just curious, how many of you think that when other people yawn, you yawn? Like that's statistically proven?
I watched the Mythbusters when I was a kid.
There you go, right there.
Now we know.
Whatever they say is obviously truth, right? So we're actually going to see if they're actually telling the truth or not. Did you notice that when they said something, I thought this was really funny. They said something to the effect of 0.29 compared to 0.25. Oh, that seems like it would be large enough. So yeah, let's say that's what they said, right? There was no statistical backing at all. They may want to hire a stats guy. Just saying. So when they say the difference in proportion, that's what we're moving into. What is the difference in proportion? We would say it would be what? 0.04. Okay? All right. Bingo. The question is this statistically significant? That's really the question. Okay? Question 3. Answer this, Brianna. Does the data provide some evidence that yawning is contagious? Yes, it does. Yeah. Because this is greater than 0, right? So the difference is greater than 0, which means that our first group is greater. So we would say yes, there is some evidence. Because why? P hat 1 is greater than P hat 2. Okay? Boom. All right, you with me so far?
Wait, I thought it had to be over 5% for us to.
Oh, good question. So have we solved for the p-value yet?
Oh wait. Oh no, it says some of it. Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? This is referring to, and I'm going a little ahead of myself, but hopefully this will help you. The null hypothesis for this, does anyone know what the null would be?
The null would be that true proportion equal to RP2, sorry.
Close. I think you were headed there. John Michael, do you know? Sorry.
P equals 0.25.
Not quite. Not quite. Jaden, were you saying something?
I don't remember. I said is P equals 0.5.
It's from 4 out of 16.
But the difference is a point around.
That's it. Good, Alex. The difference is 0. Now think about this for a second. P1 minus P2 is equal to 0. Now this looks a little strange, but think about what this means. P1 minus P2 is equal to 0. That means, is there a difference between these two? No. You follow me on that? So that's why this right here just means that there's no difference between giving a Leon seed or not. Okay? Sarah's giving it to me right now. Alternative. What's the alternative? By the way, this stays the same. P1 minus P2. Okay, it depends. In this case, we want to do greater than, because what would be greater? P1? What are we trying to show? That P1's greater or that P2 is greater? P1, right? And in that instance, we would say that P1 minus P2 is greater than 0. Now, Jaden brought that up. It was a great question. I hope I didn't confuse you there because I kind of went ahead. But that's where we're going to. So I say that this isn't a p-value up here. This is just the statistic difference between the two. Okay? We're going to show statistical significance later on. Okay?
I'm confused on how you demonstrate it with the sign.
That's a good question. Which one is are we trying to show is greater? This one was P1, right? The group 1 got the Yancey. P2 is no Yancey.
Okay.
So we're trying to see, does the Yancey give us a higher likelihood of yawning than the not?
Okay.
Does that help a little bit? Okay. Cool. You may. Question 4, and then we're going to get into actually trying to do this ourselves, okay? I'm not going to try to say, busters, use these data to conclude that yawning is contagious. Do you agree? Michael, you say yes. Why?
I don't know. Well, I know, but I don't know. I don't know.
I like that. So we don't know. I like it. We'll actually put that down. We don't know because.
Don't we like solve for and all that stuff?
Yeah, what are we solving for?
P-value?
Yes, we need to see if the p-value,
To our alpha level.
yes, is less than my alpha level. I get really excited when y'all get after it like this. Good stuff. Is less than my alpha level and is statistically significant. Okay? So we're trying to show this is basically what I'm saying. We don't know because we need to see if the p-value is less than my alpha level and if it is statistically significant or not. Okay? Cool. Guess what type of problem we're going to have to do on this?
A t-test.
Ooh, a t-test, except exactly.
Proportion z test.
Exactly. This is going to be a 2-proportion z-test.
Fancy.
I'll tell you what, Alex, that's pretty good right there. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Next page. This next one is where we're going to actually execute this, okay? All right. In this activity, we'll investigate this ourselves by doing our own simulation, okay? The one thing that I think we missed the most on the test, when I look back, is what is a p-value? You know how to conclude something and use the p-value, but what is a p-value in terms of interpretation there? Jaden?
The probability that our p hat or x will happen purely by chance.
Good, and in this instance, probability, the difference between p hat 1 minus p hat 2 will occur purely by chance. Rocket. Nicely done. Good, Jaden. Okay? All right, what is the null hypothesis? We've already said it, right? P1 minus P2 equals 0. Very good. And the alternative is that it is greater than 0. Okay? Cool. Are we good up to this point? Good stuff. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to do this purely by chance. Okay? So when we do this, think of this as we're not running the experiment. We're saying that, hey, we think Mythbusters is wrong. I said it right. Hey, close. I think that what we'll do is just, hey, we're going to simulate this, see if they were right or see if they were wrong. So I think around you have cards around you, okay? If you could get you and a partner in a group of cards, okay? You're going to do this 3 times, okay? 3 times between you and your partner. If you have like a group of 3, if you could maybe either just do one more, or you can go and get someone else and do another group of cards, okay? You're going to shuffle these up, because this is going to be completely at random, okay? So think of this just as chance, okay?
Wait, do we
Shuffle them up.
is the null we did on the first page the p1 minus The 2 plus 0.
Correct.
There's so many confounding
Correct.
variables right now.
All right, when you shuffle it, you're going to give 2/3 of the people. You may, Sarah. You're going to give 2/3 of the people the yawn seed, and the other third you're going to just not give the yawn seed. Right? Again, this is purely by chance. You're going to record the proportion of those who yawned in each group, and then just subtract the difference at the very end, and you'll do that 3 times in order to get more dots on the board. Okay? Does that make sense? Cool? So you just flip them over, proportion who yawned, proportion who did not yawn, subtract the difference.
Ready?
That difference, you're going to put that dot right up here on the board. Okay? Let's go. Let's do this thing. Does anyone need more cards?
Can you try to say it again?
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Because you were going to your test back today?
This is the.
We will. That's my game plan.
That's
Chloe, would you mind
All
doing
right.
one? Just you can work with
Yeah.
that, but just to get more dots up there.
Okay.
Oh, 3 for 3.
Oh.
No. What am I doing?
So right now,
I'm doing it. I'm pulling them out. I don't want to
Yeah.
count. How
You're
many?
good.
How many did?
yeah, you're good. So group 1 would be like 34, right? So this is with P1. If I gave the yawn seed versus P2, I did not.
We do 34 and 16, right?
Correct.
6,
Mhm.
7,
What is this? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16.
Point.
Okay. Well, we'll keep mine.
You counted them all?
Are you serious?
That's how they did it because they put 1/3 of them in the random door and then 2/3 of them in
How many who didn't?
the yawn seed.
Good. Nice one. I got 2.
So we got 34.
Yeah, that's great.
I think we might have an outlier here.
I'm good.
That's okay. Still put it down. Still put it down because that could. Yeah, that's gonna be way out.
I'm just being nice.
It sounds like it's another language.
All right, Senor. How many
Okay.
yawn do?
Love it.
Why do we do 34? 11, 20. I'll use this one.
Oh yes.
Wait,
So
wait.
see, 34. This is the people that when they came up, they were yawning, and they saw the yawn, and then they went in.
Okay, so number 1. That.
So this would be 11, and then this is just like
11 out of 34 days.
So how many yawn?
11 out of 34.
Good. Yeah. So this would be your first one. 11 out of 34 here.
Oh.
16 for the other.
Okay, we're good.
I just
Does that make sense there?
Thank you.
Cool.
What's the
Are these
one
for
that's 11?
16?
23.
Those other 16, those are them right there.
Oh, so I can do it. Okay.
And then you can just flip them over.
I don't have a calculator.
same results.
Do you ever people that just did not yawn? You just do have your calculator. You just figure it out.
The thing is, it's like somewhere at the bottom of my backpack.
All right, Jeff, your turn.
Sarah wanted to do it.
What's 11 out of 34?
Oh, like, I want me to do the math. I was gonna do it. You took Chloe's part. My other you mean? Wait.
Yeah.
No.
Can I use the restroom?
You may. Go ahead.
I think I'm getting sick. My throat.
Once you're done, if you could go ahead and put your date up behind me.
7, 6.
What's 23 out of 34?
We're just putting down the
Just the difference. Yep.
6. What?
6, 7, 6.
6, 8.
Okay.
This is a negative number.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yes, the difference would be negative there. That means
negative
P hat 2 is
0.06.
higher, right? That means P hat 2 is higher. The one who had no yawn.
Yes.
Kirsty, we're not even close to being on the board. We got 0.228.
0.228.
Yeah.
We'll just have it on your own category. Positive.
Yeah,
All right.
it's positive.
You know what to do?
We'll
One
go
first.
to-
So we have to do group 1 first.
That's impressive. Yawn. Yeah, you can just put it like right in there.
Okay, let's do the third trial.
I want to do it.
Oh, wait, just do them all. Oh, count it? Okay.
It's really bad. We don't have to count 34 steps. We know how many total daughters are involved in. So we should just count the 16 steps.
Oh, yeah, we can do one more.
This one's gonna have 12. So there's only 14 people young.
Need your help to make sure.
Did you like my golden nugget?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. We'll see you later on.
I was like the perfect opportunity.
That's awesome, Michael.
I was reading filters.
Is he talking yet?
She was.
No, I'm disappointed.
I really are. How old is he?
Keep him in his ring tonight. No dinner.
No dinner for you. She's not even crying.
I didn't have one because it like deletes it. I don't like post.
Yeah,
I've kept mine since October.
Wait, 11 plus 10 does not equal 34.
You don't add, you subtract.
Huh?
I'm worried. I'm worried right
They
now.
have to equal 34.
Again, when you're done with your 3 dots, go ahead and put them up here behind me.
What? How did you do that?
She said 11 plus 10.
Okay, we need to do another one because obviously Chloe's is not working. Or if this is 10, this just has to be 24. 24.
Oh, I lost count. Quiet.
Yeah, 5, 6.
Did you like my golden nugget?
I'm gonna go ahead and put some more.
Did you laugh?
Very much so. Very much so.
Or are you gonna put it in? Did I make the
I think it may. I think it may.
37.
You should have just doubled it to 0.19. I'm coming back and I'm gonna check.
Because there's a set.
I'm gonna be like, someone send me his PowerPoint.
There are
Because this proportion is equal to 0.19. I can have like 2.
What's 24 divided by 34?
Was there a difference? 0.04, is that right? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
0.04?
Okay, I'm gonna write this whole thing. 0.04. Wait, did you guys get 11 over 34 yourselves? Okay, yeah. How did you?
I don't even know what you did, Chloe.
2.22.
There.
Wait, 7?
Can I stay here for a second?
Man, we have a lot of high values.
These people don't like yawning. They're so good. But this one, always a proportion.
I didn't know if you were like still trying to do.
Ours are a lot higher than everyone's on
No,
there.
for P1. We just aren't good at shuffling cards. Can you count these?
The highest is 0.15 up there, and we have 0.42.
I was watching them yesterday. They're like, just so intense.
Oh, yeah.
We got
It's almost so hard. That's P1.
0.13 and then
Oh my gosh, this is gonna give us even higher.
What?
Is it P1?
Yes, it is. Because what that would mean is that this is just purely by chance, right? Purely by chance. So we're not actually doing
Yeah, like
this.
3 people.
So that would just mean that in that purely by
Because you're
chance
always
scenario,
outside. I was on the
those
slider
that
playing. You're not already outside.
And then like the last one.
had more yawners than.
I meant to post it once and post it twice.
Basically, we're doing
I
this
think
is.
I found that out.
We've done something terribly wrong.
Yeah, 'cause our numbers are super high. Are you sure it's not middle school?
We gotta do it.
Well, we're not actually doing it, but this also is standard distribution. This is not every possible instance, right? So we right here, what we're doing is just putting a couple up there to show that there might be some good extra.
I'm worried about that.
Y'all okay?
This is
I think we did this wrong.
Is this
Yeah.
2 yards?
Yeah, this is 2 yards, so it's only 2.
Yeah, I got 0.14.
As well.
How many yawners are there in total?
There's 14 yawners total.
The people that yawn
Are we
are
sure
the
we
ones
have
that
15?
count for that.
Or 50
Does that
cards?
make sense? So like right here, 11 out of 34.
But our numbers are so high.
Lincoln 3.
There's not a lot of people in the
So when we go back, right?
How do you have 2 samples of 34?
That's what.
One's supposed to be out of something else.
Yeah.
You can or, you know, like,
So
yeah,
these
Grace
are the
did
ones
that,
you
like, her
guys, right?
doctors and shit was like,
Okay, so these were the first 34. That
And they're
means
like, you're
if you go here and go 11 out of 34, the second one's out of 16.
you're supposed to
In
change,
total, those that yawned
your body weight in
was 14, right?
or like at least half.
So if there's 11 over here, there's going to be 3 over here.
Half to
So
like,
what you're going to do this one, what's 11 out of 34 is what?
11 out of 30 is like,
Are you serious?
It's like 10:30.
Good for me.
0.32? What's 3
Really
out of
good.
16?
I go to the bathroom in every class.
I look at him, I'm like, I hate that. Point
He just walked out.
1
He's getting water.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, he's just skipping. 0.19.
0.19? And then go ahead and do P1 minus P2, P hat 1 minus P hat 2. That's going to get you your
Okay, wait. Okay, because we got 11 Huion C groups, so there should be 3 out of 16.
correct, because there were 14 in total.
Oh.
Does that make sense? So if this was 10, this would be 4
Should
out
I
of
have another machine?
Yeah, I think I've got an extra back there if you want.
More trees, not like they do anything.
What's 14 minus 6?
Is it easy for you to email the picture or did you watch the video?
All right, let's do this. We're going to get going in like 2 minutes. So let's get those up there.
What time is this class? And you just get a letter now. I have to go ask Harrison too. Can you check out Harrison?
Did you have to school?
He's in my economics class. I don't
Ooh.
want to take 7 years. I have a higher grade for violence. Oh my god.
He was talking. He was like,
We told him we were going to get water.
Okay. All right, let's do this. All eyes up here. Make sure everything's away phone-wise. Make sure we're up here. We'll put them up here. It's fine. Go ahead, Cliff. You're good. As we're talking about this, remember this is how it occurred purely by chance, right? Right? Purely by chance. So the question is did their 0.04 difference, is that something that is like rare, or is it something that could have happened purely by chance? That's really the question, okay? What I would do, I know our sample size isn't great, but this will give you a picture of, just like the Mythbusters there. This will give you a picture of what it would be if we had a sampling distribution. Now, question here, is this a sampling distribution?
No.
No, why, Tony? Yeah, it's not all possible samples of size 50, right? We wouldn't be able to do that. But we're going to end up using it for answering some of the last questions we have here, okay? Now, just based on this, do you all believe that this provides evidence that Mythbusters actually had a faulty experiment here? Sarah?
I would say yes, because there's a very large portion of dots that are to the left of what their difference was. I think it's over 5%.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's not statistically significant.
Yeah, I really like that. John Michael, do you want to build on that concept? I love what Sarah said.
Also, due to the sample size, the variability in every single trial is so large. Like just between one person maybe yawning or not, it changes it by 0.09, which is a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Hey, Jacqueline, make sure we're here, and group over here. Make sure we're here, because I think this is really important. When we look at this, this is what we call what did we do here? It's called a simulation, right? We simulate this, right? And the question is 0.04, the difference of 0.04, is that statistically significant, right? Would you agree that if we got 0.04 or higher in this simulation, that would show that maybe this isn't as rare as what they wanted us to believe? Does that make sense? So how many times did it have 0.04 or greater? Well, we could come over here, and basically I'll even be generous and say over here all of these dots show that .04 actually wasn't very statistically significant. You know what I mean? In fact, this over here is what we call our p-value. Even though it's not a sampling distribution for our simulation, this is the p-value that said this could occur purely by chance. Am I making sense on this? No? Tony? Do you have a question on that? Or do you just want me to say it again? Yeah, absolutely. So what does that dot represent? The difference between the yawn seed and non-yawn seed, right? And this one said that P1 was, 0.125 greater than 0.1 than P2, okay? P2 proportion, purely by chance, right? So this is purely by chance, right? And when we looked at this, they got a difference of 0.04, but the Mythbuster said, oh, 0.04, that's pretty high, therefore let's say that the yawn seed does in fact cause yawning, right? But we looked and saw that just purely by random draw, that we got 0.04 or greater in a lot of the dots that are on the right side. In fact, if we were to find this proportion, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, there's 10 dots over here, 8, 11 over here. So this is actually 10 over 21. That proportion is the actual p-value of getting to 0.04 or greater purely by chance. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does anyone not understand that? John Michael, do you have a question or
yeah,
comment?
I just had a question. So with our test here, we're really not saying anything about whether the yawning seed does anything. We're just saying that the Mythbusters test is not valid or something like that.
Yeah, it's faulty.
Okay,
Based
yeah.
on the information that they got, we do not have convincing evidence. Now, did we do a state plan to conclude? No. I just wanted you to experience it today and see that, okay, we're doing the same thing. We're just saying that the difference in proportions does not provide statistical significance as far as the data is concerned. And what they said that was faulty was, oh, that's big enough difference with the huge sample size that we should be able to say that that's true. Well, no. Number one, they didn't run a test. Number two, could this have happened purely by chance? And we showed that actually it could. It's actually close to 50%, which is much higher than an alpha level of 0.05. You know what I mean? Does that help you, Tony? Go ahead.
If the difference between the P1 and P2 is 0.3 or 0.25, so we only consider the 4 dots on the right.
Yeah, that would be right here on this side. And I would say that would be more evidence there. I would probably have to have more dots on this to really be sure one way or another. But yeah, you're right. If the difference when they did this in the experiment was instead of 0.4, it was 0.04, it was 0.4, now we're talking something different, right? Cool? Good stuff. Questions on this? All right, how are we doing on time? All right, we have 6 minutes. Can we go golden nugget real quick? I think we went through everything that's there. Number 8, it says, what conclusion can you draw? We don't have convincing evidence that yawning is contagious based off of this information, right? Now, if we did another experiment, we had a better experiment, we could possibly say that. But in terms of number 8, we do not have convincing evidence, okay? Does everyone understand why? We're cool? Cool. Michael, you good, man?
Yep.
Right on.
Cool.
All right. And here we go. Here we go. Golden nugget for the day. I did put it on there. I did. Brianna is on here. So important ideas. Let's just get this down real quick. When we talk about plan phase, okay? That's for you. This is a 2-proportion z-test. 2-proportion z-test. Let's talk about this, the shape, center, and spread of P1 minus P2, okay? All right, let's talk about this shape real quick. What do I need to show for my shape being normal? Is my shape normal or not? What would I show here? Law of large counts, nicely done. So we would do n times p is greater than or equal to 10, and n times 1 minus p is greater than or equal to 10. Which do I have to choose, P1 or P2? No, you're good. We're going to get there. You would do it for both, Okay? So you have to do it for both. So you do, just a heads up, both P1 and P2. Both of them have to follow the law of large counts in order to be able to use the normal distribution there. Okay? Good stuff. So this would be, in essence, it would be like N1 times P1, N1 times, or N1 times 1 minus P1. And then down below, you would do the same thing except for N2 and P2. Okay? I'm sorry. Putting an Ambriana there. I literally laughed out loud last night, just so you know. All right, center. To get the center, usually we use mu of p hat equals p, right? We talked over this, but we're talking difference now. So this time, we're going to go more to mu of p hat 1 minus p hat 2 is equal to what? P1 minus P2. Nicely done. Good. Really, that just means that this is the true proportion parameter minus the true proportion parameter of each of the two samples that are there. Okay? Anything crazy yet? Pretty much the same, right? The last thing I think is the toughest is spread. Okay? If I subtract these, one cannot what? Simply add standard deviations, right? So our spread is going to be a little different. This is going to be sigma, our gang sign, p hat 1 minus p hat 2. Okay, that's our notation. And that is equal to, and what we're going to do is we're going to put two of them here and here. Okay? What, did I write something? Okay, so this one here would be, what is the standard deviation for one of them? Yeah, so we've got to be able to kind of combine those together, right? Okay? So we are going to put P1 times 1 minus P1 divided by n plus P2 times 1 minus P2 divided by n2. Sorry about that. So this is basically the first one plus the second one, and we take the square root of those two added together. Okay? Cool? Say again? Yes, you want to know the good news? I'll give you a little good news here. The do face, when you